Kanchanpur, a remote village in Damrai, Dhaka district. Back then, the village had no paved roads, electricity, or mobile phones. Life revolved around the great river Kalisondha, with small canals spreading around it. It was early winter. Fog swallowed the mornings, and evenings forced people indoors. Raihan, a 22-year-old young man, had just finished agricultural college. His father, Jalil Mia, a hard-working and respected elder of the village, suddenly fell severely ill with diarrhea at the beginning of November. Despite the efforts of local healers and herbal doctors, he showed no improvement. His body grew weak, and the fever refused to leave. Raihan's mother cried, "Baba, take your father to town. If he stays here, he won't survive." But the problem was the river. To reach the town, one had to cross the Kalisondha. There was no bridge yet, only an old wooden boat. Around 11 a.m. the fog cleared just enough for sunlight to appear. Raihan wrapped his father in a blanket and laid him carefully in the boat. He took the paddle in his hand and began crossing. The river was at low tide, its current slow and shallow. Water hyacinths floated lazily on both sides, carrying a dry smell of harvested rice fields with the wind. "How are you feeling, Baba?" Raihan asked. Jalil Mia smiled weakly. "Allah will help. You'll bring me back soon, won't you?" "Yes, Baba. I'll take you to the doctor. Everything will be fine." But those words never got a reply. As the boat reached mid-river, his father silently breathed his last. Raihan stared in disbelief, then cried bitterly. He wrapped the blanket tighter around the body. He had to return. But the wind died, water receded, and soon the boat became stuck in the muddy riverbed. A night stranded in the river. Evening descended slowly. The shadows of distant banyan trees stretched across the cold water. The only sounds were drifting hyacinths and the occasional winter breeze. Raihan realized that without high tide, the boat wouldn't move. Meaning he had to spend the night right there. He sat beside his father and held his hands together in silent prayer. The cold was so strong that each breath came out like smoke. Time felt frozen. It must have been around 9 p.m. by his guess. Fog thickened, and moonlight spread over the river. Suddenly, the boat started to sway slightly. Raihan thought it was the wind, but no, something was rubbing beneath the boat. He leaned forward and saw something floating. At first he thought it was Hyacinth, but then realized it was half of a broken boat, and someone was sitting in it. "Brother, are you alone out here?" A voice floated across the fog. Raihan shuddered. "Yes, the boat got stuck," he replied. "When the tide rises, it'll move. I'll stay close by." The man came near, wrapped in a thick blanket, face hidden. "Aren't you scared to stay alone at night here?" Raihan forced a smile. "I'm not alone. My father is with me." "Your father?" The man slowly looked at the covered body. Then in a cold tone asked, "Alive, or dead?" Raihan paused. "He passed away today." The man said nothing. He climbed quietly onto Raihan's boat and sat beside the dead body. Raihan watched in confusion but didn't stop him. The man stared at Jalil Mia for a long time, then murmured under his breath like chanting a prayer. Midnight approached. The high tide arrived. The boat began to move again. Raihan grabbed the paddle. But then he smelled something. A thick, rotten smell, like decayed flesh mixed with hot smoke. It surrounded the boat. He looked up and saw dead things floating: broken banana trees, tangled hyacinths, and a swollen dead cow. They blocked the boat's path. "Brother, help me push these away," Raihan said. The man didn't answer. Raihan turned and froze. The man sat beside his father's head, the blanket still on, face lowered. "Brother." The man slowly lifted his head. In the moonlight, his eyes glowed blood red. Dried blood stained the corners of his mouth. Raihan's heart stopped. The man reached toward his father's chest. Digging his fingers into the blanket, pressing harder, as if trying to pull something out. "Hey! What are you doing?" Raihan screamed. The man whispered, "Your father made a promise. His heart, his liver belongs to me. On the other side of the river, he promised." Saying this, the man plunged his hand into the corpse's chest. Raihan grabbed the paddle and, without thinking, hit the man's head. Once. Twice. Thrice. The man stopped moving. Then slowly fell into the river. The blanket around him unraveled. There was no body underneath. Only a dark skeleton-like frame and two glowing eyes sinking beneath the tide. Raihan screamed and paddled with all his strength. By dawn, he reached the shore and collapsed unconscious. Villagers found him hours later. They brought in his father's body. The elders said, "The chest is torn, must be river crabs." But Raihan knew it wasn't crabs. Since that night, no one crosses the Kalisondha alone after dark. Villagers say, a river that takes life sometimes wants it back. Every year, in November, when fog settles, people claim to see a lone boat drifting in the distance at midnight. With someone sitting still, staring across the river. Some say it's Raihan's father. Some say it's the man in the blanket still searching for a heart he was promised. Raihan didn't survive long either. In 2004, his body was found near the old school by the riverbank. My name is Sejal. I drive a CNG in the heart of Dhaka city. This job has given me a middle-class life, but sometimes it throws me into nights so terrifying that even hell would feel merciful. It was a humid summer night. The moon was up, but pollution dimmed its glow. The time was around 1:30 a.m. I was returning through a nearly deserted section of the Dhaka, Mymensingh highway. The heavy, unsettling air felt like a warning of something dreadful. I had just dropped off my last passenger when the nightmare unfolded. A speeding private car came from behind and struck the passenger I had dropped off only moments earlier. The metallic crash echoed through the empty highway. My heart vibrated violently inside my chest. The passenger didn't even get a chance to scream. His body was thrown far away by the impact. I froze, gripping the steering wheel. The entire highway suddenly drowned in a suffocating silence. The driver of the private car did not stop for a second. He simply vanished into the night. My voice wouldn't come out. Fear choked my throat. Everything felt dark and hollow. When I finally stepped out, there was only me and the lifeless body on the road. A cold, unnatural fear crawled up my spine. As I approached the body, a sharp smell hit me, blood and shattered bones freshly exposed to the night air. Beside the body lay a medium-sized black leather bag. My eyes fixed on it. Was it curiosity or greed? I still don't know. But the urge overpowered my fear. My trembling hands opened the bag. Inside were bundles of cash. Thousands upon thousands of taka. More money than I had ever seen in my life. My morals, my fear, everything collapsed under the weight of that money. I looked around. The highway was empty. Driven by a monstrous instinct, I dragged the dead body into a roadside bush and ran away with the bag. Even the night wind whispered in my ears, "You're finished, Sejal, finished." At home, I told my wife Reena everything. She was furious at first. "You stole from a dead man," she shouted. But when I poured the money onto the floor, her anger faded. Her silence was acceptance, sinful acceptance. The next few days seemed peaceful on the outside. New clothes, new furniture, a life we never had before. But underneath that comfort grew rot. One morning Reena opened the wardrobe and screamed. Inside, where we hid the money, thousands of white wriggling larvae had infested everything inside the wardrobe, inside the folds of the notes. It felt like our sin had taken physical form. We tried insecticide. It didn't work. The larvae grew. Then came the whispers. At night we heard faint voices calling our names, murmuring, crawling. Whenever the whispers increased, the larvae moved in unison, as if responding. This wasn't nature. This was the spirit of the man whose last treasure we stole. One night on the same highway, I saw someone standing at the roadside. As my headlights reached him, my blood froze. It was the dead passenger. His injured, decayed body was crawling with those same white larvae. He walked toward my CNG silently. I couldn't move. He came to the window. In a broken, hollow voice he whispered, "My bag. Give back my bag, Sejal. My last savings, for my family." Then he vanished into the darkness. The days after were worse. Footsteps at night, knocking at the door, larvae under the bed. Even Reena believed now this wasn't imagination. This was punishment. One night I broke down and screamed, "What do you want? Leave me. I will return everything." The answer came colder than death, "My body. It lies unclaimed in Dhaka Medical Morgue. Take me home. I want peace." The next morning, Reena returned the money to the family. And I left for the morgue to complete my final duty. Dhaka Medical Morgue at dawn was a place soaked in fear and chemicals. The caretaker warned, "Bodies don't move, but the morgue does at night." Inside, I uncovered bodies one by one. None matched. Then, in the darkest corner, I saw it. A body surrounded by living larvae, impossible in that chemical-soaked place. My throat dried. "This one, this is him," I told the caretaker. He whispered, terrified, "Nobody goes near this one. People say it moves at night." I removed the cloth from the face. The same empty eyes, the same larvae, the same stare from that night. I screamed. But I wrapped the body in cloth and took it out. In the faint morning light, I drove the corpse to his village. When I left it at the doorstep, the family burst into tears. As I drove away, a cold whisper brushed past my ears, "Thank you. I am free." The Hillside Mansion. Summer of 2020. In a peaceful town in the state of Irindur, USA, stood an old, abandoned house known as Hillside Mansion. Alice, a young freelance photographer, decided to start an art project documenting the mansion. She learned that room 12 once belonged to the owner's little daughter who died in the 1930s from a mysterious fever. Locals said the door of room 12 always stayed closed, and at night, the sound of a child crying could be heard from inside. With special permission from the local authorities, Alice entered the mansion. Her plan was to finish taking pictures during daylight, but the work dragged on until late at night. She decided to spend the night in the hall of the mansion. At 1:30 a.m., the silence of the mansion was broken. Alice woke up to a strange dragging sound coming from directly above her from the second floor. She realized it was coming from room 12. Terrified, she grabbed her camera and flashlight and slowly walked up the stairs. At the top, she saw something impossible. A faint blue light seeping out from under the door of room 12. But this house had no electricity. Alice touched the door handle. It was icy cold, like touching metal left in the snow. Despite being locked for decades, the door gently opened from inside. She raised her flashlight and peeked inside. The room was covered in dust and cobwebs. But in the center of the room sat a wooden chair, and on it a pink-frocked doll with glass eyes glowing faintly blue. As Alice raised her camera to take a picture, she noticed something horrifying. A nearby rocking chair started to move on its own. Slow, gentle, rhythmic motion. Even though the room had no breeze at all. And then, on the wall behind the doll, the shadow of a little girl appeared. Not still. It was motioning with its hand, calling Alice to come inside. Alice's throat dried. Her camera slipped from her hand. She ran down the stairs, through the hall, bursting out of the mansion. She turned back only once. In the second-floor window of room 12, two small hands were pressed against the glass, drawing something through the misty condensation. Alice jumped into her car and drove away without looking back. The next morning, police investigated the mansion. Room 12 was found locked tightly from the outside. The doll sat on the wooden chair just as described. But on the window's fogged glass, written clearly in a child's handwriting, was one chilling word: play. And strangest of all, Alice's camera, which she dropped in the hall room, was never found. I never imagined that getting a government job would bring more humiliation than pride. When I became an assistant worker at the Raihan Municipal Crematorium, people started whispering behind my back, "DOM. DOM." Even my mother cried on the first day. People who work with death must have a strong mind. Can you handle it? I laughed then. I didn't understand that the strength of the body and the strength of the mind are two completely different things. The cremation ground stood near Barahor village, close to the dried bank of the Jamuna River. During the day, it looked ordinary dry sand, the smell of burnt wood, and an empty riverbank. My senior, Shahid Master, had been there for over 20 years. His face always looked tired, like he hadn't slept in days. One day I asked him, "Why do you always look worried?" He smiled faintly and said, "This job forces us to wear a mask. Keep doing it long enough, and you forget who you really are." I didn't understand the meaning then. New moon November 28th. The night everything changed. It was my night shift. Shahid Master lit a cigarette and warned me, "Don't go towards the river tonight. And if the storage room for the bodies is locked, don't open it." I scoffed. "Why, someone living inside?" He didn't answer. He simply lowered his head and walked away. I thought he was just superstitious. 10:30 p.m. The electricity went out. The small office room was swallowed in darkness. I turned on my phone light, my hand trembling from the cold. Then I heard it. Talk, 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 footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Dragging. The sound came from the storage room, the same room Master warned me about. The door handle was ice cold, like touching frozen metal. I pushed the door open. The room was empty. Or so I thought. Under the large wooden table, something was lying halfway inside. 2 legs. Torn pants. Mud-covered feet. I whispered, "Hello, are you listening?" No answer. The body was cold. Completely stiff. I immediately called Master. "There's a dead man under the table. Come quick." 10 seconds of silence. Then Master's trembling voice, "Don't move. Don't let the light go out. I'm coming." I turned the light back toward the table. The legs were still there. But when I scanned the whole room again, my breath froze. In the corner near the wall, there was another pair of feet. Someone standing there. But no one had entered the room. I swallowed hard, turned the light back to the table. The legs under the table were gone. Completely vanished. My heart dropped to my stomach. Suddenly. Car, a dry, scraping breath. The sound came from the corner. I slowly lifted the light. And saw him. A man. Standing under the low ceiling. Not a shadow. A full, human figure. But his face. Eyes hollow and dust gray. Black rings underneath. No lips. Skin swollen, like a drowned corpse. He stared straight at me. 1 second. 2 seconds. Then his head bent unnaturally sideways. And he spoke. "Take me out." A dead man. Speaking, I ran to the door and pushed. It wouldn't open. From behind me, cold, it's so cold. I turned. He was right in front of me. Dragging his feet. Leaving streaks of wet mud on the concrete floor. I screamed and slammed the door again. Suddenly, the door flew open. I fell outside. Shahid Master rushed toward me. His face pale. "You saw him." I could barely breathe. "That's not a human, Master, that's not human." He closed his eyes heavily. "Last year, a man drowned in the river. We never found his body. In winter nights, he returns. We know him, his body is always wet. The mud never dries." I whispered, "Why did he come tonight?" Master replied in a low voice, "November 28th. The day he was last seen alive. Every year, he returns."